Welcome to the John Deere Attachment Video Series. The goal of this series is to provide you with some information on installation, maintenance, some features, advantages, and benefits, applications, operating tips, and finally removal and storage procedures for our John Deere Worksite Pro attachments. Today we will be featuring our cold planer. Let's start by connecting to a John Deere skid steer. The operator will need to maneuver the machine so that the quick attach lines up with the mounting plate on the back of the attachment. Tilt the attachment back and latch the quick attach. Before operating any attachment, always be sure it is secure by pressing on the ground to ensure that the latches are locked in place. Next, the hydraulic hoses need to be connected. Before connecting any coupler to a machine, it is important to clean both ends of the connectors. This will help keep any contaminants out of the hydraulic system. If your attachment has a K-string, it must be connected first and disconnected last. If the attachment does not have a K-string, connect the return line first. This will take some of the hydraulic pressure off the system and make it easier to connect the supply line. Finally, be sure to connect the electrical harness to the machine. Some attachments require the use of a hose saver or boom-mounted hose guide kit to safely route the hoses and keep them out of damaging pinch points. John Deere has an assortment of standard flow and high flow cold planers ranging in sizes from 12 inches to 30 inches in cut width. There are currently 4 different models available for purchase, including the CP12D, CP18D, CP24D, and CP30D. Today we have featured the CP24D. Regular maintenance is key to the longevity and safe operation of any John Deere attachment. A regular walk-around is required every day in order to ensure that all hardware is tight and that the system is free from any hydraulic leaks. Check to make sure that all carbide cutting tools can freely spin. The carbide cutting tools are self-sharpening, and without the ability to freely rotate, they will not wear evenly. Lubrication of grease fittings is also an important part of the daily maintenance. Grease fittings on the wheel pivot pins are a daily service item. However, all other grease fittings on the cold planer have a 40-hour service interval. Also, it is important to change the gear oil in the planetary drive after 50 hours of use. After your first oil change, the gear oil only needs to be replaced on a yearly rotation. Details on additional maintenance tasks such as changing the drum, planetary, hydraulic motor, and cylinder seals can be found in the operator's manual. Now, let's take a look at some applications of our cold planer. This attachment can be used to tackle small milling jobs. Not only can it be used on asphalt to repair potholes, but the carbide cutting tools can be swapped out to accommodate concrete projects such as curb cutting, pavement texturing, and the removal of traffic lane stripes. A water nozzle kit may also be added to reduce the amount of dirt and silica dispersed into the surrounding area. The water reservoir will be mounted on the top of the cab. Now let's talk about some features, advantages, and benefits. At the request of our customers and dealers, our cold planers have had an extra 200 to 300 pounds added to them. This ensures that the attachment will stay in its proper original cut. It also eliminates the need for extra hydraulic down pressure from the machine. Most of that weight has been added to the side skids and to the rear frame of the attachment. Depth cylinders have been removed from the front of the attachment to the top, where they can clearly be seen by the operator and are out of the path of potential debris. Each cylinder is also connected to a depth gauge that makes it easy for the operator to see the depths of each side independently. An additional hydraulic function controls the level of the cut. On the back of the machine, facing the operator, there's another gauge that displays the cutting angle. It can be adjusted 10 degrees from center in either direction. The final hydraulic function allows the control of side shift. This function makes it possible to operate the attachment next to buildings or around obstacles. The cylinder that controls this is one of the largest on the market. Our John Deere cold planer utilizes a planetary drive system for sufficient torque levels. Unlike some competitors who have an additional bearing to support the weight of the drum, the CP24D uses a wheel drive planetary. This makes it possible to meet bid specs where the side plate must be removed to get closer to curbs or other obstacles. Our cold planer also comes with a 3-inch pivot pin designed to endure some of the most severe duty applications. A 1/2-inch oil-impregnated tie bar also allows for a smooth side shift and long life. D-rings can also be found on both sides of the attachment to make transport and the tie-down procedure quick and efficient. Operating techniques differ between all John Deere worksite attachments. After ensuring that the area is clear of bystanders, lift the planer off the ground and engage the hydraulics to start the rotation of the drum. It is important to have the drum rotate in the same forward direction that the machine is traveling. It is not designed to be operated in reverse. It is important to remember that because the auxiliary hydraulics work off of return oil, the drum must be turning in order to make any hydraulic adjustments to the planer. The wheels on this attachment are preset bearings rather than bushings that some competitors use. After setting the overall desired depth of cut, the attachment is dropped down and rides directly on these wheels. There are many variables that go into the productivity of the cold planer, such as horsepower and hydraulic flow. However, it is important to remember that traveling at slow and steady speeds will yield a greater consistency of cut. If the drum physically stalls out or if the drum rides up and out of the cut, the operator needs to slow down. It is also important to remember that cutting concrete is different than cutting asphalt and requires a different carbide cutting tool. Not only does it require a different tool, but the depth of cut for maximum performance is also different. For concrete, it is only recommended to take 3/4 to an inch per cut. For asphalt, the recommended depth is 1.5 to 2 inches. If a deeper cut is required, multiple passes are recommended. Detailed instructions on creating specific grades and cutting around manhole covers can be found directly in the operator's manual. At the end of the day, it is important to make sure your attachment is clean and free of dirt, grease, and other debris. To remove the attachment, first bring the machine to a complete stop and lower the attachment until it is securely resting on the ground. Before shutting down, be sure to bring the machine to an idle state. This will prevent any damage to the machine and attachment during the shutdown procedure. To unhook the couplers, it is first recommended to detach the supply line, then the return line. It is also recommended to press in and hold the male and female auxiliary port couplers to relieve the system pressure. Once the couplers have been disconnected from the machine, connect them together to eliminate buildup of debris during storage. And finally, remove the case drain and electrical harness. Return to the operator station to unhook the quick attach. Then, tilt the coupler forward and slowly back out of the attachment. Be sure to store the attachment in a dry and safe environment when not in use. Leaving the attachment outside and exposed to the elements will significantly decrease its life expectancy.